Da 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 da! What's my good cheer? Welcome, everybody. I was milking it for the very last few moments of my days off in that job that puts the roof over my head that I'm so grateful for. But oh my goodness, I sure would like one more, one more day off before I start my work week. But I am grateful for that job that puts the roof over my head because, if I did have a regular 9 to 5, and I'm working full time now, but on the norm, I have been able to schedule my life, my job for the first time in my life to suit my life, to suit me, to make it so that I'm actually enjoying my life. I had a friend named Brian, and he used to say how much he distasted working for the man. And I never really got what he was saying. I thought maybe he just might have been resentful because he had to work. I'm not afraid of work. I've been a hard worker my entire life. But what he was saying was being beholden to somebody, that he actually wanted to work for himself, to be able to put a roof over his head in a way that it didn't affect his personal life, that he got to do what he wanted to do, that he got to dictate his life. And in a way, he really did get to dictate his life. And of course, did he sit on the throne? Did the riches come fall upon him? Did he tiptoe through those lava coals without going ouch, ouch, ouch? No, right? We make sacrifices for the things that are most important for us, those things in our lives that we just have to have, those things that are part of we talked about it yesterday, the prerequisites, that stuff you would prefer not to do. You'd always like just to get to the finish line, hit out of the gates, and there you are at the finish line. But what's all that space in between? That all needs to be accomplished too. And lots of times when we look at the things that we want to do, they come with other skills. I remember when I just started um, doing what I am doing now. I have pivoted many, many times, but we're actually living and working with emotions and understanding different personality uh, types and different personality disorders and different mental functions that, I always felt guilty and ashamed because I lived that way, that I felt that way, when in all honesty, it was purely natural and it was the way I was supposed to feel, the way I was supposed to live my life. I move about my life with that steering wheel being guilt and shame. It's part of the programming. It's part of the way that I was brought up. It was part of the way for my parents to make sure that, right, I followed the rules, that I didn't rock the boat. One of many steering wheels, but it was one of the main ones. Guilt and shame. That was a big tool on their belt. And I can work through those experiences and those lessons that I have and really look back at how I worked in the midst of being steered. And yes, there was lots of guilt and lots of shame, and a lot of those feelings are never ever going to go away. The silliest things that I feel guilt and shame about, but I have to be grateful at the same time because sometimes when I know I should do something, I procrastinate. again, right? We don't want to do what's in the space. We want to go out of the gates and end up at the finish line, right? And today I was feeling guilty and I was feeling shameful because I had committed to myself. I had promised myself I was going to pull out that big bag of rocks that have been sitting underneath my dining table ever since I got back from my annual September trip to Ontario and digging crystals. So I had a big bag of rocks and minerals and crystals, and I haven't even dug into it, not once, since I've been home. And last week, I promised my followers over on my Chatters Live that I would pull them out and I would actually be right, do a little video and get that posted. But oh my goodness, this weekend I was in recoup, regroup, and totally crashed out kind of mode. And I felt that push, but I also felt that guilt and shame for not wanting to do what I had promised and committed that I was going to do. I knew I was going to do it. Didn't want to do it, right? It was like pulling teeth. But I did it in my own lessons, in my own way, which is in baby steps, right? You do the things that you need to do in the prep to get it done till finally everything is sitting at the front door ready to go down to the community hall downstairs where it had better work surfaces and sinks and stuff that I could better film it, right? And I got it done. I was absolutely amazed because there was nothing in me. Like there was nothing in me. And if I hadn't got it done, well, guilt and shame was already there because I had already kind of considered that it wasn't going to get done. So, of course, all day I'm beating myself up with guilt and shame. But in this idea of following my own lessons of baby steps, just getting it started, right? Let's get the towels out. Let's get the pot scrubbers out. Let's get the rocks out from underneath the dining room table till it was all sitting at the front door ready to go. And at that point, right, still trying to get out of it. So, oh, let's go downstairs and see if the room's available to see if somebody's using it for anything. Nobody was. So that was my last out to have an out. So I came upstairs and I got my rocks. And the most incredible thing happened. I really enjoyed. I had the room for a couple of hours. It only took me about an hour, hour and a half to film it, to get all the rocks clean. But in that process, I got to play with my rocks. I got to see my rocks since my holiday, right? Since September. And it brought back so many memories. And in cleaning the rocks, I made a few discoveries, a few bonuses, that I didn't think that might be there. And yet, right? I was dazzled and amazed at what I had found on my trip, and it cheered me up. It put a smile on my face, a face because I accomplished, right? Because we all know Cindy feels good when she accomplishes things. But not just accomplishing that, but also in keeping that promise to myself, holding myself accountable, getting that video done. Was it perfect? No, right? Did I do a fantastic job? I don't know. I won't know until I get in and edit it. And that's another thing, right? I said I would try to get that video posted today, but I'm happy. I'm happy that I accomplished what I had committed to do in filming the crystal hoard that I had found on my trip, and I found some amazing things, and I feel pretty good about that. But in that guilt and shame, right? I really had to take a look at that because I wanted to make sure that that I wasn't forcing myself to do something that I didn't want to do. It's been a big part of the messaging and the lessons in the past couple of weeks to really take a look at what I'm doing and to make sure that I really enjoy and really love what I'm doing and everything that I do. My job, there were lessons in that, and that is moving so much better than it was. But then also, you know, the little promises that I make to myself and that goal setting because we know Cindy's working towards getting a car and then there's all those obstacles and wrenches and failures and little boo-boos along the way that we have to take care of in the end, right? Or neglected in the end because we can't cover all our bases. And then guilt and shame again surfaces because, right, we didn't get something done when it was our intent to get it done. It wasn't perfect today, but it was pretty good. I pushed against the pushback that was pushing me. And again, I want to make sure that I'm not doing these things when I really don't wanted to do it. Right? Right? I'm not I'm not going to be my own slave driver, right? And it was evidence for me tonight when I was filming that video. No, it was like medicine because I got to see all my I'm looking over here because some of my rocks that I decided to keep, that I had washed them and cleaned them. And I brought over 150 pounds of rocks home. And I think I have about 10 pounds of rocks sitting in front of me. But I'm good with that. The rest can go into rock gardens. They can go to right people who kind of joined in my enthusiasm for my September trip and pass along some of that crystal. Maybe I'll donate a little bit to the store and sell a little bit on the shelf. It's not good enough for the window, but people do love the crystal. I'm just going to show you a couple of the pieces. This was one that I discovered. Look at those crystal there. Oh, sorry, those little crystal points. Aren't they absolutely just spectacular? And it's sitting in a solid piece of quartz. I found that one. And then when you talk about solid pieces of quartz, look at this one. It's just a solid piece of quartz. It's not crystal formed, but it is crystal, isn't it? Look at this one here. This is pretty neato. Look at all the crystals in that. Is that not magnificent? And there's even some little, what do you call them? Sabers on them and points on them, right? They're just absolutely. It just cheered me right up. And yet all day I was treating it like I was pulling teeth, right? And it was so fun to dig into all of this and 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 take a look at what I had scored on my trip, right? And yeah, it was lots of fun, right? It was lots of fun this trip. Oh, look at the little baby crystal down there. Yeah, so I really enjoyed filming my video today. It really just did serve me well. And in the end, everything that I wanted or that I had committed, because I commit to get things done. And sometimes in that pushback, it's just the effort that you put into pushing right back that matters, right? To show that you're still in the game, that you're not giving up. You're going to do the best that you can, right? And I did the best. I did the best that I can and everything that I said I wanted to accomplish on my days off, which wasn't much because I knew I needed to rest. I wanted to clean my earring board and get all my new earrings and brooches on the board. I wanted to get my rock video and crystal video done. I got that done. There were a couple of things that I wanted to get done, and I managed to get that done, and I'm ready to go back to work. Well, I'm not going to say that with a whole lot of enthusiasm, but I suspect when I go back to work that I am just like getting that video done, that sense of accomplishment and that happiness and that pride that it's not pride, but yeah, maybe it is pride, being proud that I held myself accountable, because in the end, right, it served me too. Like, it gave me so much joy, and I wasn't thinking of it that way. I was just looking at it like it was a chore, but I did it in baby steps, and it ended up being like a gift 100%. Okay, you guys, we're just going to pick a card. We're going to call it a day. We're still in the minuses, minus 24 Celsius. The wind chill is going to be like minus 30 Celsius. Winter is supposed to let up a little bit next week. We'll see. It's supposed to get to the pluses next week, but we'll see. It usually cools off right away. It's just a teaser for people to clean the gutters. And then it goes right back to the minus 30s for another few weeks, right? We still have a ways to go. You guys, flexibility is the word that we have today, right? I used it a little bit today in not beating myself up with that guilt and shame by compromising, right? That flexibility is that compromise, and we just don't become flexible with other people's time, right? With other people's energy. We have to be flexible for ourselves. We have to be flexible enough to make sure that we are taking care of ourselves. Like I said, in the past week, anyway, for the past week, it's really been asking me, right, to make sure that I'm paying attention, that I'm enjoying what I'm doing. Tonight was our prime example, because all day today was like pulling teeth. I was really dreading going down there, right? I just wanted to sit here in my chair and just, right? Eat my fridge out, right? Take in lessons, piddle around the house. Didn't want to do too much. And I did that video, was right. I found it interesting. I was re-energized in getting the video done. And I also really, really enjoyed it. And I didn't say, but I should say, I really, really needed it. I really needed to do my crystals today, because that's the movement, isn't it? It's the way I wanted to move, but it wasn't the way that I was expecting that I could move. And the only reason it got done was in those baby steps that I just, right? Okay, I got 5 seconds of energy. We're going to get up and grab that bag and put it by the door. Oh, get it done. Okay, let's go sit down and have a break. Oh, okay, let's make a cup of coffee. Okay, no, you can't have the cup of coffee yet, Cindy. Right? You're gonna go get the pot scrubbies and a couple of towels, and you're gonna put them by the door. Then you can have a cup of coffee. And just in those baby steps, right? It took me a couple hours, but I wasn't in a rush. I knew I was going to get it done, and I knew I had that room till 9 o'clock tonight. And right, if it took me all night to get my butt in gear and get it done, so be it. By that point, I knew that I was going to get it done, because the baby steps made it so it wasn't such a big chore. That flexibility with myself and compromising with myself. That's pretty amazing, because sometimes you just don't have it in you. And it's like beating a well, I'm not going to say beating a dead horse, but it's like beating a horse to get up, right? Or beating the donkey because it's got the saddlebags and that's how you're going to get your gear to the top of the mountain and right? But that donkey just does not have anything else in it. And then you just beat the donkey, right? Sometimes you have to be flexible to say, okay, let's get this bags off the donkey for an hour or so. Let's give it some water, some rest. I could just do some rest now. Maybe you could chow on the grass, and then maybe, just maybe, we can start up again and get this donkey to the top of the hill. And sometimes in that compromise, in that bargaining with ourselves, meeting halfway, right? Not taking the full responsibility. Sometimes it's just in those baby steps, in those small things that we can do that make all the difference in the world, right? That maybe if at knowing I had till 9 o'clock and I procrastinated right till 7 o'clock. And then at 7 o'clock, I said, okay, time to get the video, right? And I didn't get any of that other stuff done. I didn't get my towels ready. I didn't get my dish soap and my scrubby and my pail and my rocks out from underneath the table. All of that would have taken time. All of that would have taken energy, right? And I would have easily been able to talk myself out of it, right? And I have been talking myself out of it. Maybe the next time I go to talk myself out of something, I'll have a little chit chat with myself. Maybe be a little bit more flexible in how we get things done. Take my own lessons and do those baby steps, right? Be flexible with myself, be flexible with those rules that I set for myself, knowing that, right, as much as guilt and shame is steering that wheel, sometimes that guilt and shame is not allowing me to be flexible with myself, to give myself a little bit of a break, right? To make sure that I'm loving what I'm doing, that I'm doing what I love, that in the moment that it might be hard, I'm not saying it's not going to be hard, it's going to be hard, but we only put that effort into something when we know it's going to offer up something, right? Those extra hours I'm taking and I'm putting in to my job that puts the roof over my head, that's going to allow me to save a few dollars, that maybe we might get a set of tires or a set of wheels for this spring, this summer, right? But the flexibility for me in that is not to beat me into submission, to to stronghold me and make me suffer. Right? Because Cindy is in from that programming of instant gratification, and we need to enjoy the ride. We need to enjoy the views. We need to be doing what we love. We shouldn't be procrastinating in the things that we want to get done. Yes, sometimes it's difficult, but we have to understand if we get that wheel moving, just as much as I enjoyed looking at all my rocks when I thought it was, right, just going to be like pulling teeth, I was 100% wrong in that, right? Sometimes that flexibility just comes by saying, okay, I'm going to try. Or okay, I'm gonna take two steps forward. I think I can manage two steps, right? Or how about, you know, getting that studying in for ourselves with those exams. I used to do that all the time just to take it in little bits at a time because, right, that ADHD wouldn't allow me to do it all in one shot. I couldn't sit still all in one shot. Or if I could sit still, I couldn't concentrate throughout that process, right? Again, it's in that programming. So we have to be, right, creative sometimes in how we take our lessons. And it's how I came up with baby steps, right? And I have to say, you know, if it wasn't for the baby steps, I wouldn't be here right now. And I think some of you have been here hanging out with me long enough to know how true that is. Okay, you guys, that's my good cheer. That's the end of my days off. I'm going to have a bath, get in my pajamas, make a cup of coffee, relax for a little bit, crawl into the bed, and start my week over tomorrow, knowing, right, that small list that I put before me, and it was a small list. It got done. Okay, you guys, that's my good cheer. See you tomorrow.